Hey everyone, how's it going? T and Mortgage podcast with John Coleman of JC Mortgages. Episode number 35. We have some really interesting psychology of buyers, sellers, and the transactions here from John.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I'm going to, I suppose, preface this first thing off by saying I'm not a psychologist, right? But I've been in this game a long, long time now, and I've seen um, the psychology of the different parties involved in buying and selling a house. And I kind of like to share with people, because it's a game. I want to share with people the thought process involved, your psychology as the buyer. Then there's the psychology of the seller. Then there's also the psychology of the selling agent, and having a grasp on those will certainly help in formulating a bidding strategy. And I'm not saying follow these rules and you'll definitely get the house, but you'll stop yourself doing something stupid and will definitely give you the best chance of being successful in with whatever budget you're prepared to go to for a particular property. So yes, it'll be we need to put our disclaimer at the end of this, Norm, because this is just my observations from a long time watching people buying and selling houses.
You're not a licensed psychologist, psychiatrist, therapist, or you don't have a leather couch for people to lie on. But of course, you've
No,
been doing this a long time, and you notice the patterns of human behavior.
absolutely. And it's really rewarding when I have a client comes back to say, John, it works. That advice, and that is very, because you kind of give yourself a pat in the back and go, yeah, okay, I am bringing value to this process. I'm not just arranging the mortgage. You're actually helping people to ultimately secure a home, and that's what this is all about.
Yeah, and to your point, I think when you understand who's involved and their motivations, what their best interests are, and how that manifests, then you could align yourself, or you could make the appropriate moves with those motivations, and so you're basically playing chess, not checkers, where you're not feeding the wrong behaviors, right?
Absolutely, and it's people don't realize it's a game. It absolutely is a game, and it's a game no one plays on a daily basis. This is buying a home is such a huge thing. It's so emotional that a lot of the time, all rational thought can go out the window, right? So you need to kind of frame your own thoughts on how am I going to try to make this happen. And it's very easy for me to say to people, don't fall in love with a house. But this is what happens on a continuing basis. So you need to recognize that it's, oh, this is an emotional response to something that may or may not happen, right? So how do I, if we really want it, how do we best go about formulating a bidding strategy, and then understanding your thoughts, understanding the thoughts of potentially the seller, and then potentially the sales agent can give you the best chance of success. And that's what I would suggest that
Awesome. So
we
let's dive in.
continue
Let's
this
get
out.
into
Yeah,
I'm excited for this. And of course, you're not a licensed psychologist, again, the
yeah.
caveat, but this is some really interesting stuff. So let's dive in.
Fantastic. When it comes to second-hand properties, you're kind of looking at that. This is a totally different game, and I've done some videos on in terms of how to play the game, right? Um, the biggest mistake I find people making is just bidding for the sake of bidding.
Yeah.
They
They get
go,
caught up in the
yeah,
emotion,
absolutely. They
the
see a
fear
house
of missing out, the
yeah,
FOMO, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
They see a house at the weekend, right, and they go, "We want it," right? Um, and then, and I always kind of educate this in terms of there's three layers of psychology at play here. Okay,
Hmm.
right? Again, we're going to try to pretend I'm a
Break it
psychologist.
down for me. Break it down for me. Okay, now we're getting good.
Okay, sorry. I don't have a degree in this. Let me put my disclaimer out there pretty quickly on this. It's just for observing human
This is
nature,
not
right?
professional advice. Don't do this at home. Yeah.
So,
Consult your certified therapist.
absolutely. So no, but the first thing is obviously the psychology. There's three people at play here. Not everyone even thinks of this, and they don't even really think about two. They think about themselves. Okay, the emotional um, things that are involved. One is the fear of losing out, and then the fear of overpaying. Right. So they're two kind of competing, obviously paradoxical. They're competing against each other. One is I want to put a bid down now because I don't want to lose the house. Right. Two is I don't want to. I don't want to put a bid in that's too much because I might be overpaying. Right. Um, and both kind of work against you. Okay. Um, and I'd be almost saying, don't do anything. Right. Um, my view on it is very simple. Put a bid in at the start to close it, or come in and try and steal it off someone else at the end. So beware of your own um, psychology? How are you viewing this? Are you trying to get a cheap deal early, which I don't think works, right?
Hmm.
Or
Hmm.
are you trying to basically, are you bidding too much too quickly because you want to do something just for the sake of doing something? Okay, I'm now going to flip it to the sale of the
John,
psychology of
if I
this.
could jump in with that
Of
one too,
course,
it's from what you told me there, and I see this a lot. There's you could think of it as a Venn diagram where the circles overmatch, right? And there's value, which is concrete, factual, based on data, right? And market. And then there's perceived value, which is
yeah,
where emotions and that, oh, we love the paint in the kitchen. This is the one we need to, and there may be some overlap, but it doesn't mean that they're the same thing. And see, people have to be coached up on not to mistake value for perceived value based on their emotions or
absolutely,
perceptions, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
You phrased that much better than I could possibly, and bringing in those diagrams as well. No, but I can visualize what
Very,
you're.
very sophisticated with the diagrams, right?
Listen, I knew although I couldn't do that. So, um, moving, if we were to hang on there 1 second, the how do I describe it? If so, then the psychology of the seller, though, the seller basically, again, is initially could possibly be greedy, okay, as in suddenly he wants X, but he's seeing all these people interested, so but then his expectations of what he wants changes, right? But then
Mm,
he gets something, and you might hit him at the point whereby the fear of losing of a great deal that's on the table outweighs the actual the greed of wanting more, and that's very much a very individual piece. But this is the third psychology here is the one that always gets forgotten. Okay, and it's the one I kind of you have the psychology of the sales agent. He is hired by the seller. Okay, that his responsibility is to get the best price possible for the seller. Okay, but he's a human being at the end of the day, and ultimately he's looking to get the best price possible for the actual seller, but from his own business point of view, in the quickest time possible. Okay, so this is where you can be clever. Okay, in that you can almost, even though he's not your client, he's not working for you, you can get him on your side or get her on your
hmm.
side
Hmm.
at the right point. Okay, purely by just well he'd look to close it quicker because okay,
Yeah.
say he's got 450,000 on the table and the deal would close at that. His if he's to go and show it the following weekend, maybe there's another 10,000 in it for the seller, but he might only be getting 1% of that as his fee.
It's
So
not worth it. Yeah.
it's not worth it. You know, his time is already if he can sell it quicker, suddenly he's freed up to for
Yeah.
higher
The
value.
math is close the deal as fast as possible and get me my check
Absolutely,
as quick as possible. Yeah.
you summed it up perfectly. Now, obviously, he's still in the duty of care to get the best possible deal. But if if he can find a deal that closes it quicker, okay, that both the buyer is prepared to make and the seller is prepared to accept, well, he'll be all for that, okay. Uh, so people say, oh, they want to know, like there's a perception out there that the agent is trying to squeeze an extra 5 or 10 grand out of
Yeah.
people. I don't buy that at all, purely
Yeah.
because there's so little extra in it for them. Okay,
Yeah.
it just doesn't make any maths or it doesn't make any mathematical sense. Um, so the but so if the seller, you can ask the seller the question at the start: Is there something like is there a price that takes this off the market today? Now the seller mightn't be able to. Sorry, the agent may not be able to give that. You got to say, well, the seller wants to see where it goes, and you go, okay, Grant. But then you keep your powder dry. You hold back. You don't put an offer in just to get this bidding process going.
That's
You
an awesome question, by the way. And that is a powerful question that not many people talk about. And like you're saying, you're keeping your cards to yourself, you're keeping your powder dry,
yeah.
where but you get their number and everyone has a number, right? And they might
Yeah, that's what
disclose
you're
that
looking
number.
for. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then ultimately but then so that's at the beginning. But you can kind of flip it then at the end because if you can't get it at the beginning, you're then trying to come in at the end and steal it off someone else. That sounds terrible, but it ultimately is what's happening here. You're trying to only one person can buy a house, so there might be 10 people. So you want to make the best deal. So then, if there's a bidding process coming on board, you can always ask the question at the end. Well, hold on, I want this house, but I don't really want to continue going down a bidding war. you're his agent. Is there a price that I can offer today that closes this deal? Now, that doesn't work every time, no. Okay, so I don't want to pretend that I'm giving out a foolproof system of actually, but what it does is it stops you making um bidding against yourself. It gives you the best chance of being successful, in my opinion,
You're not
right?
overcommitting
You're not
that
overcommitting,
early in the process.
and
Yeah.
you're not putting a bid out there that just gets other people interested. So say I go and see the house the weekend and I like it. Well, my first question would be, well, is it being viewed next weekend? And if it is, well, why would I put a bid in now? They're just going to go to the people next weekend and go, hey, I now have 480 on this house. I'd keep my mouth shut and wait to see what happens next weekend. And then if someone's put a bid in, we'll maybe put a bid in more than that to try to scare them off, or whatever the play may be. But try to find out as much information as possible. So that will be the biggest mistake I would see people making on the second hand properties, that they overbid too quickly, or they not even overbid too quickly. They're getting involved for the sake of getting involved, and that in effect is just bidding against themselves, or they're creating more competition.
Yeah, and if the seller, I love that psychology. That's so interesting. And you've been doing this so long, and you're an observer of people and systems. And so this is great that you've seen these patterns and these mistakes. But if the seller is not ready to close today, then then why are you offering them money when they're not ready to seal the deal today, right? And so wait until, and every offer that comes in is more reinforcement for the seller psychologically that
Yeah,
that my perceived value, remember our nice diagram, our perceived value is
yeah,
actually higher, or
yeah.
there's
Looks like
evidence
we're doing
that
a
I'm going
dance
to get
move here,
more.
Norm, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's evidence that I'm going to get more offers, more money. So why fuel that fire when they're not ready to close it, if they're keeping it open another week or something like that. So that's wonderful psychology. How about
But it's
mistakes?
psychology. Let me put that disclaimer out again. It's psychology by John Coleman, non-qualified, non. So take it at your peril, basically. Take it as some information that you can work with. I would never want
And
to
now
pretend.
relationship advice and psychology from John Coleman, right? Is that what's next?
We're definitely going to park that one. We'll definitely park that one.
The beer and mortgage podcast with John Coleman, huh?
No, we keep it to the Tea and Mortgage podcast now. I guess, but
We like tea. We like tea. All right. Well, I don't know about you, but my mind is blown with all of that great information and really interesting psychology of the motivations, behaviors, the bidding process of everyone involved. So, John, great stuff. Thank you, honestly.
no, remember, I'm repeating this again. These are just my opinions, my thoughts, my observations. And I said, I've seen them work in real life. Okay. So I didn't just share that for the sake of making myself, trying to make myself sound like more intelligent than I am. It's not. It's literally all about helping people come up with the right understanding in doing something that they don't do in it. They're outside their comfort zone, right? It's a game. And trying to understand the sort of dynamics behind the game gives people the best chance of being successful. And I just, I love sharing that kind of information. So thank you for you suggesting this, and hopefully people got some value from it.
Yeah, fascinating stuff. And of course, if anyone wants to talk to John, has questions, wants to apply for a mortgage, you're available and all your information is below. So, T and Mortgage Podcast, thank you everyone for watching and listening. Number 35. We'll see you next month.
Fantastic. Cheers.
All right, everyone. Welcome to the T and Mortgage Podcast. Episode